WWOW Radio Network presents the Cranston and Spade Theater Company and No Epilogue Productions version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
I have endeavored, in this ghostly little book, to raise the ghost of an idea, which will not put my readers out of humor with themselves, with each other, with the season, or with me. May it haunt their houses pleasantly, and no one wish to lay it. Those words were written by Charles Dickens in his preface to A Christmas Carol. When Dickens presented this little story to the world over 150 years ago, it found an instant response in the hearts of people everywhere, who saw in it their favorite fictional chronicle of what Christmas is and what Christmas means to all the simple people of the earth. From the day of its first printing, families have been innumerable in which there's remained an unbroken tradition that the reading of A Christmas Carol was an item indispensable to a proper observance of the most important of days. It is the American way, as we know, to establish traditions quickly where popular instinct and sentiment pronounce them sound. For many, A Christmas Carol is part of their holiday tradition. The Cranston and Spade Theater Company has performed the Mercury Theater's radio version of A Christmas Carols many times during their 25-year history. It has become part of the holiday tradition for their audiences. And now No Epilogue Productions has teamed up with Cranston and Spade to present this version of the classic tale. We've gotten a great deal of pleasure out of planning and preparing this Christmas gift, and now it's ready. Off come the wrappings. Off come the tags that say, "Please do not open until Christmas." Out comes the card, "To you, from us." And here is the gift itself.
Molly was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Molly was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. Scrooge and Molly were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge never painted out old Molly's name. There it stood, years afterward, above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Molly. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge Scrooge, and sometimes Molly. But he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. But he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, was Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Secret and self-contained. No warmth could warm, no wintry weather chill him. And once upon a time, of all the good days in a year, on Christmas Eve,
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day.
old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house, a grim, cheerless place if there ever was one. Scrooge could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, stamping their feet upon the pavement stones to warm them. The city clocks had only just gone 3, but it was quite dark already. It had not been light all day, and candles were flaring in the windows of neighboring offices. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, so that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who in a cold and dismal little cell beyond worked at his ledgers.
19, 20, 21, 22. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. 26, 27, 28, 9, 22.
Bob Cratchit.
Yes, Mr. Scrooge.
Stop that infernal caterwauling.
Yes, sir.
Of all the impudence. Singing that idiotic Christmas carol at my very door. Go on, get away from my door. Go somewhere else and bellow your blasted carols.
Sorry, Governor. It's an old custom at Christmas time, you know.
Yes, and I don't want any of your old customs. Take your fellow fools and go away. Christmas. Bah.
Right, sir. Merry Christmas anyway, sir.
Ah! Now you get that letter from Higgins and Blackthorn, Cratchit. Then I want you to finish posting this ledger, and after that, you can pop over to Popagill's and tell Ephraim Popagill you've come after the 17 shillings and sixpence he's owed me since Michaelmas. And tell him I'll have a constable over there if he doesn't pay up at once.
Mr. Popagill's wife has been ill, sir.
Oh, what do I care about his wife? I want my 17 and 6.
I just thought it being Christmas, sir.
What do I care about Christmas? I want my 17 and 6.
Merry Christmas, Uncle! Merry Christmas, Bob!
Merry Christmas, Mr. Fred.
God save you, Uncle!
Ah, humbug.
Christmas? A humbug, Uncle? Now, I'm sure you don't mean that.
I mean just that. Exactly that. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you? You're poor enough.
Well, what right have you to be dismal about Christmas, Uncle? You're rich enough.
Ha! Humbug!
Now, Uncle, don't be cross.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools? Merry Christmas. What's Christmas to you but a time for paying bills without money? Time for finding yourself a year older, not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips would be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
Uncle!
Nephew! Keep Christmas in your own way. Let me keep it in mine.
Keep it, but you don't keep it.
Well, let me leave it alone then. Hey, what did you come here for, nephew?
I came to wish you a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Much good may it do you. Much good it has ever done you.
There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited. I dare say Christmas among the rest. But I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a time for giving, a charitable time. The only time I know in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely, and to think of people below them as if they were fellow passengers to the grave, and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and it will do me good, and I say God bless it!
God bless Christmas, hooray!
Let me hear another sound out of you, Bob Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. As to you, nephew, I wonder you don't go into Parliament. You talk enough nonsense.
Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love. Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party, but I have made the trial in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Bob, and the missus, and to Tiny Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Fred. The same to you, sir. Good day, sir.
Good day, Bob.
Talking of Christmas and not 2 sixpence to jingle together in his trousers pocket. Hey, you there, Bob Cratchit, come here. What are you doing there?
I was only putting a bit more coal in the fire, Mr. Scrooge, seeing as it's so cold in there, sir.
Now, you put that coal back into the scuttle. Fire, indeed. I can tell you, if you use coal at that rate, you and I will soon be parting company, Bob Cratchit. It's many a young fellow would like your situation, you know.
I'm sorry, sir. My fingers were getting a bit stiff with the cold.
Then put on your mittens. There's someone at the door. Go on, see who it is.
Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Good afternoon.
Is this the firm of Scrooge and Marley?
Yes, it is.
I should like to see the head of the firm, if I may. Collins is my name.
Oh, very good, sir. Step this way, please.
What is it?
A gentleman to see you, Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Collins.
Well,
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Mr. Scrooge, though I doubt it will be of any pleasure to you.
I'm sure it will. You see, Mr. Scrooge, at this festive season of the year, it is more than usually desirable that we who are more fortunate should raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. You may not believe it, sir, but many thousands are now in want of common necessities, and hundreds of thousands are in want of the simplest comforts.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons, sir.
And the workhouses, they're still in operation, I trust.
I wish I could say they are not, but they still are.
The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then?
Both very busy, sir.
I'm very glad to hear that. I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course.
No, sir. All these institutions which you mentioned are flourishing. But it is nevertheless true that some additional provision for the poor and destitute must be made. A few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this time because it is a time of all others when want is keenly felt. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Oh, you wish to remain anonymous.
No, I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me what I wish, that is my answer. I don't make myself merry at Christmas time, and I can't afford to make a lot of idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I have mentioned which take care of the poor. They cost enough. Let those who are badly off go there.
Many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die.
Well, if they would rather die, they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, excuse me, I don't know that.
But you might know it.
It's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business, not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, sir. Cratchit, show this gentleman out.
I quite understand, Mr. Scrooge. Good afternoon.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir. This way, sir, please. Sir, I couldn't help overhearing.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir. I wish to donate a tuppence. It isn't much, but it's all I can afford. But there are others in worse situations than I.
You are a generous fellow. I wish I might say the same of your employer.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas.
Cratchit, close that door.
Merry Christmas, sir. 34, 31, 1, carry 3, a new scarf for Tiny Tim, a comb for Martha, 33, 3 and carry 3, a hair ribbon for Belinda, 4, 7, 12, 15.
That's it.
Yes, sir?
It's too late to have you go to Papa Gill's. He'll be closed up for Christmas like these other fools. We may as well close up the place now.
Oh, yes, sir. It's getting a little dark. Hard to see the figures.
I suppose you'll want the entire day tomorrow.
If quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient and it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown of your wages, you'd think yourself very ill-used, I'll be bound.
Well, sir,
Yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
it's only once a year, sir.
Oh, a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. We'll see you here all the earlier the next morning.
Oh, I will, sir. I will indeed. Well, good night, sir, and Merry Christmas.
Ah!
Merry Christmas.
Bah!
office was closed in a twinkling, and Bob Cratchit, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no greatcoat, went down a slide on Cornhill 20 times in honor of this being Christmas Eve, and then ran home to Camden Town, as hard as he could pelt to play with his family at blind man's buff. Scrooge, on the other hand, took his melancholy dinner at his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all his newspapers and having spent the rest of his evening with his banker's book, went home to his dismal house. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, had to grope with his hands through the fog and the frost to find the door. Once inside, Scrooge walked through his rooms to see that all was right. It was hard to see in the gloom, but Scrooge did not care a button for that. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. Nobody under the table, nobody under the sofa, nobody under the bed, nobody in the closet. Close the door. He'd lock himself in. He'd double lock himself in. He took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown, slippers, and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel. It was a very low fire indeed, nothing on such a bitter night, and he was obliged to sit close to it. He stretched his fingers towards the fire for warmth, but then quickly drew them back, for the meager flames slowly arranged themselves into the features of a face that Scrooge recognized.
Marley? I could have sworn I saw... Humbug. Marley's been dead these 7 years.
Marley's face, not angry or ferocious, but looking at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up on its ghostly forehead. The hair was curiously stirred, as if by breath or hot air.
Humbug!
Scrooge got up and walked away from the fire. As he did, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the corner of the room. It was with great astonishment and with a strange, inexplicable dread that as he looked, he saw the bell begin to swing.
What was that? Someone's in the wine cellar. But the door's locked and double locked. Something's coming. Something. Oh, it's getting closer. Outside my door. I won't believe it. It's humbug.
Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Marley? Oh, no. What do you want with me?
Much, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Oh, you're very particular for a ghost. All right, then. Who were you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley? But you're dead. You died 7 years ago this very night.
What's wrong, Ebenezer? Don't ye believe in me?
I do not.
Why do you doubt your senses, Ebenezer?
Oh, yes. Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You can't be a ghost. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. It's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug. I tell you, humbug! Mercy! Dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?
Man of worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
Oh, I do. I must, but why do spirits walk the earth, and why do they come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad amongst his fellow man, and travel far and wide. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth, and turn to happiness.
Tell me, Jacob, what is that chain you wear?
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. Cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, purses. I made it link by link. I gird it on it of my own free will. Is its pattern strange to you? Yours was as heavy and as long as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. Oh, it is a ponderous chain.
Oh, speak comfort to me, Jacob.
Comfort I have none to give, Ebenezer. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond our counting house in life. Now weary journeys lie before me.
Well, do you travel fast?
Yes, Ebenezer, on the wings of the wind.
7 years dead and traveling all the time.
7 years, Ebenezer, no rest, no peace. 7 years of remorse. Ebenezer, do you know that no space of regret can make amends for one's life opportunities misused?
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business. Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence, they were all my business. The dealings of my trade were a mere drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
Oh, Jacob, don't take on so now.
Listen to me, Ebenezer Scrooge. My time is nearly gone.
I'll listen to you, Jacob. Go on, speak to me, but don't be so flowery.
Ebenezer, I am here to warn ye that ye have chance and hope of escaping my fate. A chance and hope of my procuring, Ebenezer.
You always were a good friend to me, Jacob. Thank ye, but go on. How shall I escape? Oh, I am afraid, Jacob.
Listen to me, Ebenezer. Ye will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that my only chance and hope, Jacob?
It is your only chance and hope.
Oh, then I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more. And for your own sake, remember what has passed between us. Expect the first spirit tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Molly! Jacob Marley!
With that, the apparition of Jacob Marley raised his hand, and as he did, Scrooge became sensible of confused noises in the air, incoherent sounds of lamentation and regret. Marley, after listening for a moment, joined in the mournful dirge and floated out upon the bleak, dark night. Scrooge followed to the window. The air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste, moaning as they went. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost. Many had been personally known to Scrooge in their lives. The misery with them all was, clearly, that they sought to interfere for good in human matters and had lost the power forever. Whether these creatures faded into the mist or mist enshrouded them, Scrooge could not tell. But they and their spirit voices faded together, and the night became as it had been.
Bah! Humbug.
He was lying on his bed, fully dressed. Suddenly, the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old woman. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were long and muscular, the hands the same, as if its hold was of an uncommon strength. It wore a tunic of the purest white, and round its waist was bound a lustrous belt, the sheen of which was beautiful. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand, and in singular contradiction of that wintry emblem, had its dress trimmed with summer flowers. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all this was visible, and held a great extinguisher for a cap, which it held under its arm.
Ebenezer Scrooge, I have come for you.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold me?
I am that spirit.
Who are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
But what do you want of me? What brings you here to haunt me?
Your welfare, Ebenezer Scrooge. Rise and walk with me.
Not out of the window. I can't do that. I'll fall down. I'm not a spirit. I'm a mortal, and I'll fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand upon your heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. Come, follow me. Let us go.
They stood upon an open country road, with fields on either hand. It was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground.
Where are we? What's become of the city? That's snow upon the ground. Where are we?
These are but the shadow of things that have been. You recognize this countryside?
Oh, I know every inch of it, every rock, every tree.
And that bleak building over there?
That building. I was a boy there. Yes, I went to school in that horrible place.
Do you recollect that path?
I could walk it blindfold.
Strange you should forget it so many years. Come, let us go closer. Look through the window into that cold, barren room. What do you see, Ebenezer Scrooge?
I see a boy.
A solitary child, neglected by his family, alone, a book open before him.
Yes, I know that boy. I was so lonely.
Your lip is trembling, Scrooge. And what is that upon your cheek?
It's nothing at all. I wish it's too late now.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Waifs came to my door singing Christmas carols last night, and there was a boy like that among them. A poor, pale, thin little boy in a ragged coat. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
That is all. Watch, Ebenezer Scrooge. Let us see another Christmas.
Dear brother, I have come to bring you home, dear brother, dear Ebenezer.
Home, little Fan?
Yes, home for good and all, home forever and ever. Father is ever so much kinder than he used to be. I asked him once more if you might come home, and he said yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. And you are never to come back here. But first, we're to be together all the Christmas long, and have the merriest time in all the world.
Always a delicate creature, but she had a large heart.
So she had. You're right.
She died a woman, and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True. Your nephew.
Yes.
Come, Ebenezer Scrooge, let us see another Christmas. Do you know this place, Ebenezer Scrooge?
Know it? Know it? This is the counting house where I was apprenticed, and look, it's my old master.
Yeah, Ebenezer, no more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson. Clear the way, Ebenezer. Let's have lots of room here. Our guests will be here soon. You're up, Ebenezer.
Bless his heart, old Fezziwig. My master alive again and hosting one of his Christmas parties. Listen to him.
Here they come, Ebenezer. Greetings all.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Fezziwig.
And here's the missus.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Ebenezer.
Take your partners, bow and curtsy, thread the needle, and back to your places.
Mrs. Fezziwig herself. And the table all loaded with roast cider, mince pie, and beer. What a jolly time we used to have.
That carefree young man with a light heart and gay smile. Do you recognize him?
Yes, merciful heaven. How happy I was then.
A small matter for old Fezziwig to make those silly folks so full of joy.
Small matter? Small indeed.
Why? Is it not? He has spent only a few pounds of your mortal money, 3 or 4, perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
It's not that. It's not that, Spirit. Old Fezziwig has the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or heavy. His power lies in words and looks and in things so tiny that it's impossible to count them up. The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it had cost a...
What's the matter?
Nothing. Nothing at all, Spirit.
Something, I think.
Well, only it's just that I would like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. That's all.
Bow and curtsy, thread the needle.
My time grows short, and we have yet another journey to make. Come. Here in this little room, with a fair young girl by your side, do you recognize yourself, Ebenezer?
No, please no. Spare me this.
You're older now, a man in the prime of life. Your face has begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. Your eyes are greedy, the eager, restless eyes of a miser. She knows it too, that girl by your side. There are tears in her eyes.
It matters little. To you, very little, I know. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world. Belle, there is nothing on which the world is so hard on as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much. All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off, one by one, until the master passion gain engrosses you.
What then? Have I changed toward you?
Our engagement is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so, until, in good season, we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feeling tells you that you are not what you are. I am. That which promised happiness when we were one in heart is fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and release you.
Do you blame me because I have grown wiser? Have I ever tried to break our engagement?
In words? No, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in anything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now?
You think not?
I would gladly think otherwise if I could. But if you were free today, can even I believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? You who weigh everything by gain? So I release you from your promise.
No.
I know at first it may cause you pain to lose me, a very brief pain. But soon it will be dim, like a half-remembered dream, an unprofitable dream. And you will be glad to be awake from such a dream. May you be happy in the life that you have chosen, Ebenezer, for the love you once were.
Belle.
It's enough. It's enough. Show me no more. Take me home.
These are shadows of things that have been. They are what they are. Do not blame me.
No more. No more.
One shadow more. Come. Do you see this man, Ebenezer Scrooge? This man might have been you, and the woman beside him, your wife. And that girl might have been your daughter. She might have called you father. She might have been a springtime in the haggard winter of your life.
Spirit, let me go. Show me no more.
Listen now while they speak.
Belle, I saw an old friend of yours today.
Was it?
Yes.
How can I? Oh, I know. Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it was not shuttered and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner, Marley, lies on the point of death, I hear. And there, Scrooge sat alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Poor man. I could feel pity for him, but he chose a path a long time ago, and it was of his choosing. I guess you must now follow it where it leads.
Spirit, I can't bear any more. Leave me, haunt me no more. Take me back. Take me back.
Scrooge struggled with the ghost, if it be called a struggle, as the ghost, with no visible resistance on its own part, was undisturbed by any effort of its adversary. Scrooge observed that its light was burning high and bright. Scrooge seized the extinguisher cap and suddenly pressed it down upon the ghost's head. The spirit dropped beneath it so that the cap covered its whole form. But though Scrooge pressed down with all his force, he could not hide the light which streamed from under it. He was conscious of being exhausted and overcome with an irresistible drowsiness, and further of being in his own
own bedroom. He gave the cap a parting squeeze in which his hand relaxed and had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep. On the stroke of 1, Scrooge awakened suddenly and sat bolt upright in his own bed. He remembered the words of Molly's ghost and wondered from which direction the second specter would appear. He drew aside the curtains and kept a sharp lookout all around the bed. At that moment, nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him very much. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing. And consequently, when no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. Then, as he sat in his bed, he became aware gradually of a great blaze of ruddy light that seemed to shine up upon him from the adjoining room. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. It was his own sitting room, no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright gleaming berries glistened, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as it had never been known in Scrooge's time. Heaped up on the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, great joints of meat, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. In an easy state upon this couch sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and he held it up high, high up to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door.
Come in, Ebenezer Scrooge, and know me better, man.
You are?
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the like of me before.
You're different from the other spirit. You're tall, almost a giant, and that great torch you carry.
Its light falls into the homes of rich and poor alike.
Spirit, conduct me where you will. Last time I went against my will and learned a lesson which is working now. If tonight you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge. Touch my robe.
The room vanished instantly, as did the fire, the ruddy glow, and all the room held. So did the hour of night, for they now stood in the city streets on Christmas morning.
Where have you brought me, Spirit?
A humble dwelling in a humble street.
Yes, it's miserable enough.
Yet, there is happiness here.
Who are these people? Who's that woman? And the children?
These are the family of the clerk, Bob Cratchit. See his wife dressed out but poorly in a twice-turned gown laying the table for their Christmas dinner. And there assisting her is her daughter Belinda. And the young man, that's Master Peter Cratchit. And the two little Cratchits. Listen, Scrooge.
What has ever got your precious father then? And your brother Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't as late last Christmas Day by half an hour.
Oh, here's Martha, Mother.
Martha!
Martha!
Bless your heart, Martha, my dear. How late you are. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Mother. We had a great deal of work to finish up last night, and we had to clear away this morning, Mother.
Oh, never ye mind, you're here now. Sit ye down before the fire and have a warm. Lord bless ye.
Where's Father?
He's been to church with Tiny Tim. He'll be along directly.
How is Tiny Tim, Mother? Any better at all?
Sometimes I think he is. And sometimes I think, oh dear God, if anything should happen to Tiny Tim, if Tiny Tim should die.
You mustn't even think of such a thing.
Here they come.
Here's Tiny Tim's father.
Hide, Martha, hide!
Hide, Martha.
In came Bob with at least 3 feet of comforter hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes donned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
Why, where's our mother?
Not coming.
Well, not coming? Oh, but it's Christmas, not coming on Christmas Day.
Here I am, Father.
Oh, Martha, my heart had stopped. Martha, how are you, my dear?
Merry Christmas, Father. And Tiny Tim.
Merry Christmas, Martha.
Oh, Tim. Father, I'm so glad to be home.
And we're so glad to have you, Martha.
And did little Tim behave in church, Bob?
As good as gold and better. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame men walk and blind men see. Bless you, my son.
Tim, my darling.
Are we ready to eat, Mother?
Oh, please, Mother, please.
Yes, children, we're all ready. Take your places. Wait your turn. There's plenty of stuffing and dressing and plum pudding for all. Martha, you take care of Tiny Tim. See that he eats plenty. He must get strong and well. Sit down, everyone.
And now, my dears, shall we say grace?
Yes, Bob.
Our Father who art in heaven, we thank
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the chimney corner and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved.
Oh, no, kind spirit. Say he'll be spared. Say he'll live.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, Ebenezer, the child will die. What of it then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Man, if man you be in heart, forbear that wicked canst you until you have discovered what the surplus is. It may be that in the sight of heaven you are less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
Amen.
Amen.
And now, my dears, a toast. A Merry Christmas to us all, and God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
And now, I give a toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of this feast.
Oh, not here.
The founder of the feast, indeed. Who pays you all of 15 shillings a week? I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which one drinks to the health of such an odious, stingy, odd, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink to his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be a very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
I say God bless him to you, Mother, and everyone.
There was nothing of pie mark in all this. They were not a handsome family, these Cratchits. They were not well dressed. Their clothes were scanty and had known very likely the insides of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when at last they faded, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially Tiny Tim, until the last.
Come, Ebenezer Scrooge.
He said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live.
No!
And he believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred.
Oh, he's a comical old fellow. However his offences carry their own punishment, I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he is very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
What of that, my dear? His wealth is of no use to him. He won't do any good with it. He won't make himself comfortable with it. He hasn't even the satisfaction of thinking that he is ever going to benefit us with it.
Well, I have no patience for him.
Well, I am sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here, he takes into his head to dislike us, and he won't come to dine with us. What's the consequence? He won't lose much of a dinner.
Indeed, I think he loses a very good dinner.
Yeah. Well, I am very glad to hear it, because I haven't much faith at these young housewives these days. What do you say, Topper?
Well, that is to say, I believe,
Do go on, Fred. He never finishes what he begins to say.
I was only going to say that the consequence of his taking a dislike to us and not making merry with us is, as I think, that he loses some pleasant moments, which could do him no harm. I'm sure he loses pleasanter companions than he can find in his own thoughts. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not, for I pity him. He may rail at Christmas till he dies, but he can't help thinking better of it. I defy him if he finds me going there in good temper year after year and saying, "Uncle Scrooge, how are you?" If it only puts him in the vein to leave his poor clerk £50, that's something.
And that's why I fell in love with this man.
After brandy and tea, the group played a game called Yes and No, where Scrooge's nephew had to think of something, and the rest must find out what. Fred only answering to their questions yes or no, as the case was.
Next question.
Is it, could it be, was it, I've forgotten what's been asked.
Can you recap, my love?
Fred is thinking of a live, disagreeable animal that growls and grunts and sometimes talks. This animal lives in London, walks the streets, isn't led by anybody. It does not live in a zoo, nor has been killed in market. It is not a horse, a cow, a bull, a dog, a pig, or a cat, or a bear.
Oh, I know what it is, Fred. I know what it is.
What is it?
It's your Uncle Scrooge.
Isn't she so smart?
It certainly is.
That it is a bear.
Oh, he has given us plenty of merriment, I am sure, and it would be ungrateful not to drink his health. Here is a glass of mulled wine ready to your hand, and I say, Uncle Scrooge!
Uncle Scrooge!
A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man, wherever he is. He wouldn't take it from me, but he may have it nevertheless.
Come, man, my time grows short.
Many calls Scrooge made that night with the ghost of Christmas present. Down among the miners they went who labor in the bowels of the earth, and out to sea among the sailors at their watch. Much they saw and far they went, and many places they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirits stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful, on foreign lands, and they were close to home, by poverty, and it was rich. In almshouse, hospital, and jail, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door and barred the spirit out, the spirit left his blessing. It was a long night, if it was only a night. And it was strange, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older.
My life upon this globe is very brief, Ebenezer. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark, the hour has come.
Forgive me if I'm not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange protruding from your skirts. Is it a claw or a foot?
It might be a claw, for the flesh there is upon it. Look, oh man, look here.
Oh, the children, the wretched, abject children, the spirit, why are they so ragged? And they are shriveled as if with age. Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's. They cling to me, appealing from their fathers. This boy is ignorance, and this girl is want. Beware them both, but most of all beware this boy, for on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost. It had vanished, and he had found himself once again in his bed, in his dressing gown, his nightcap on his head. He'd heard the clock strike, and then he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld the third spirit. A solemn phantom, shrouded in black, draped and hooded, coming towards him slowly and silently like a mist along the ground. The spirit slowly, gravely, silently approached. The very air through which it moved seemed to scatter gloom and mystery.
I know you. You are the ghost of Christmas yet to come. You'll show me the shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. The ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spirit I've seen, yet I know your purpose is to do me good, as I hope to be another man from what I was. Lead on. Lead on, the night's waning fast. Time is precious. Spirit, why have you brought me here again? Here to Bob Cratchit's home? Oh, but it's not the same. Oh, why is it so quiet? So very quiet here.
Mother, please.
My son, my little son, Tiny Tim. I loved him so.
Mother dear, you mustn't.
Almost time for Father to be home. Don't let him see you crying.
Yes, he's late tonight. He walks slower than he used to. And yet I've known him to walk very fast indeed with Tiny Tim on his shoulder.
So have I, Mother.
And I.
But he was very light to carry. And his father loved him so that it was no trouble. No trouble at all.
Mother, please.
And there's your father at the door. Bob.
Good evening, my dear.
You're late, Bob.
Yes, I'm sorry, my dear. I went to the churchyard today. I wish you could have gone with me. It would have done your heart good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him. I promised Tiny Tim we'd walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My Tim.
Father, dear.
It's God's will, Bob.
I'm trying to understand it, my dear. My son. My little son. Tiny Tim. And I loved him so. I loved him so.
Oh, that's cruel. Cruel. Spirit, can't you give me one ray of hope that I may change all that Tiny Tim may live?
Scrooge tried to break through the mist before him to speak words of comfort to Bob Cratchit, but the sleeve of the ghost raised before him and blocked him. And now they were in a part of town Scrooge had never seen before. The shops and houses were wretched and dirty, the people slipshod, drunken, and ugly. The whole quarter reeked with crime, with filth, with misery. Far in this den of infamous resort, there was a low-browed, beetling pawn shop where rusty keys, chains, rags, and dishes were sold and bought. And standing at the counter was a dirty charwoman and an ancient laundress.
Where are you taking me now? On a common street, spirit? Is there for me to learn here? And who are those people?
Open her bundle first, Joe.
I hope we didn't die of anything catching.
You can do the charwoman's bundle first. I'm still a little unsure.
Unsure? Unsure what, Mrs. Dilbert? Everyone has a right to take care of themselves. He always did.
No man more so.
Oh, it's the worst for the loss of a few things like these. Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed. If they wanted to keep him after he was dead, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime?
Aye, if he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying gasping out his last there alone.
It's the truest word ever was spoke.
A judgment on him, to be sure.
Open Mrs. Dilbert's bundle. Let's see what she has.
Sleeve buttons, brooch sheets, towels, 2 silver teaspoons, sugar tongs, 2 pairs of boots, 1 worn, obviously resold, and the other looks pretty good. 2 and 6 for the lot. Yeah, I always give too much to the ladies. It's a weakness of mine. It's the way I ruined myself. If you ask for another penny, I'll repent of being so liberal and knock you off half a crown.
And now undo my bundle, Joe.
What do you call this? Bed curtains?
Aye, bed curtains.
You don't mean to say you took him down, rings and all, with him lying there?
Yes, I do. Why not?
You were born to make your fortune, and you'll certainly do it. His blankets.
Who else do you think? He isn't likely to take cold without him, I dare say.
He didn't die of anything catching, did he?
Oh, don't you be afraid of that. I ain't so fond of his company that I'd loiter about him for such things if he did.
He died from too cold of a heart, you ask me.
Oh, this shirt looks good.
You may look through that shirt till your eyes ache, but you won't find a hole in it, nor a threadbare place. It's the best he had, and a fine one too. They'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
Wasted it?
What do you call wasting of it?
Putting it on him to be buried in, to be sure. Somebody was fool enough to do it, but I took it off again.
This is the end of it, you see. He frightened everyone away from him when he was alive, to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now.
The spirit spread his sleeve before him again like a blanket, and they were now in a better part of the city, not far from Scrooge's counting house. Scrooge noticed 2 men of his acquaintance talking on a corner. Oh, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Wonder what was the matter with him, other than the obvious.
God knows. I wonder what he's done with his money.
Left it to his company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know. It's likely to be a very cheap funeral. Upon my life, I don't know anybody who'd go to it. Suppose we might have a party and volunteer.
I don't mind going. if lunch is provided.
Come to think of it, I'll venture I was his best friend. We used to nod to each other when we met in the street.
Spirit, tell me, who is this man who died? Is there no one to mourn the poor creature? No one to follow him to the grave? Perhaps they'll give him a green grave, at least. Like poor Tiny Tim. Spirit, where are we now? Merciful heaven, a churchyard. Overrun by grass and weeds, choked with too much burying. Desolate, lonely. Oh, Spirit, before I draw nearer to that gravestone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these shadows of things that will be? Are they shadows of things that may be only? Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends to which, if persevered in, they must lead. But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with what you show me. Will you now speak to me, Spirit? What is that grave to which you point? Oh, there's writing on that stone. The name on the gravestone is Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. No, Spirit. No, Spirit, hear me. I'm not the man I was. I will not be the man I've been. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you've shown me by an altered life. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone. I beg of you, Spirit, I beg of you. I will honor Christmas in my heart, try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and the Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, oh Jacob, on my knees. I promise. What's this? It's my own bed in my own room. And the sun. The sun is shining. It's clear, bright. No fog. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, glorious, glorious! Ah, boy, you there.
Yes, sir.
What's today?
What's that, sir?
Today. What day is it, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, it's Christmas Day.
Ha ha! It's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. Spirits have done it all in one night. Oh, they can do anything they like. Of course they can. All in one night. Heavens be praised.
What's that, sir?
Listen, my lad. Do you know where the poulterer is in the next street but one at the corner?
I should say I do.
Ha! An intelligent boy, remarkable boy. Tell me, do you know if they've sold the prize turkey, the one that was hanging in the window? Not the little prize turkey, the big one.
What? The one as big as me?
Oh, what a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck.
It's hanging there now, sir.
Is it? Go and buy it.
Are you loony?
No. I am in earnest. Go and buy it and tell them to bring it here, so that I may give them direction where to take it. Come back with the man and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown.
Yes, sir.
I shall send it to Bob Cratchit's. You shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I am as giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year to all the world. My dear sir, how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that's my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon. And will you have the goodness to accept,
What? Bless me. My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?
If you please, not a farthing less. Great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such munificence.
Oh, don't say anything, please. Just come and see me.
I will. I will indeed.
Bless you. Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Scrooge went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro. He patted children on the head and questioned beggars and looked down into the kitchens of houses and up to the windows and found that everything could yield him pleasure. And in the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house.
Yes, sir.
Where is he, my love?
Why,
Who is it, Jenny?
Fred!
Bless my soul!
It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. And this must be your wife, my dear. Can you ever forgive a foolish old man who had no ears to hear and no eyes to see for all these years?
My dear Uncle Scrooge. My dear, dear Uncle Scrooge.
Well, I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?
Will I let you in? Will I let you in? Uncle Scrooge, will I let you in?
Merry Christmas, Fred.
Merry Christmas, Uncle!
Good tidings we bring to you and your kid.
The next morning, Scrooge was early at his office. He went early for a reason. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he'd set his heart upon, and he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come in. At last he came. His hat was off before he opened the door. His comforter, too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as though he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
16 and 21, 32, and 9, carried the 1, 24 and 8, carried the 2.
Cratchit!
Yes, sir.
Step this way, Cratchit. Cratchit, what do you mean by coming in at this time of the day?
I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
You are, yes, I think you are.
It's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
I'll tell you what, my friend, I'll not stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, Bob Cratchit, and therefore, I am about to raise your salary.
Mr. Scrooge? Are you quite yourself, sir?
No. No. Thank heaven I'm not quite myself. A Merry Christmas, Bob. A Merry Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I've given you in many a year. I shall raise your salary and endeavor to help Tiny Tim and assist your family. We'll discuss it this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Bob, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing.
And Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. He had no intercourse with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterward. And it was always said of him that how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Joy to the world, the Lord is come, let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare in room, and let nature sing, and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. Here we come a-wassailing among the leaves so green. Here we come a-wandering so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too. And God bless you and send you a Happy New Year. And God send you a Happy New Year.